By what means? Homicide.
A family's 7-year wait to hear that one word. Grief and relief on full display. A coroner's jury making its ruling in the case of Soleiman Faqiri, the mentally ill man who died bound and restrained on the floor of an Ontario jail. Good evening. The decision carries no legal liability, but for loved ones, this is about accountability. Answers have been hard to find until now.
The recommendations aimed at preventing a similar incident and providing specialized support for those in crisis. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us in studio with tonight's top story. Raheem.
Nathan and Michelle, today's verdict could fundamentally change how people who live with mental illness receive psychiatric care while in custody across the province. And for the Faqiri family, this has been a very emotional day.
By what means? Homicide.
It's the moment Yusuf Faqiri has been fighting the past 7 years for. To hear a jury declare his brother Soleiman's death was a homicide.
What's important today is my brother can be at peace.
Jurors heard testimony for 3 weeks of how the then 30-year-old Faqiri was treated inside the Central East Correctional Centre in Lindsay, Ontario, after being arrested for allegedly stabbing a neighbor while experiencing a mental health crisis. The coroner's inquest revealed Faqiri had schizophrenia, that correction staff knew he had mental illness but didn't take him to hospital or to see a jail psychiatrist.
Homicide. It's been ruled a homicide. Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Faqiri died on December 15, 2016, after a violent struggle with correctional officers broke out as they escorted him from the shower to his segregation cell.
People with mental illness, their lives are not cheap, sir. They're human beings like the rest of us. They have dreams. This is me, it's my brother Ali, and my brother Solomon, and we are at a park in Toronto.
This is the Faqiri family's first photo after landing as Canadian refugees from Afghanistan in 1993. Following Soleiman's death, multiple police investigations ended, with no criminal charges being laid against the guards involved. And this jury verdict of homicide carries no legal liability as it's not a criminal investigation.
The OPP made a decision not to charge any of those officers. Do I think this homicide finding will change any of that? I don't think it will.
Along with its verdict, the jury has put forward 57 recommendations to the province and Solicitor General, including asking them to establish a correctional inspectorate to investigate individual and systemic complaints, ensure any person in custody experiencing an acute mental health crisis is admitted to hospital for assessment, and require that use of force on a person with mental health issues be reported.
I hope this verdict can force us Canadians to look in corrections and say, you know what, something's wrong. We need to fix this because there's too many people that are mentally ill that are dying and given to their loved ones in body bag.
His family now hopes the system is transformed, forever keeping Soleiman's legacy alive. It is important to note that none of those 57 recommendations are binding, but legal experts do expect the province will take a close look at them and make changes to the current system. And we did just receive a reply from the Solicitor General's office saying that it will carefully review all of the inquest recommendations and will respond to the office of the Chief Coroner. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. And our coverage continues online. You can read more about the inquest and all the recommendations on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca. And remember to download the CTV News app.
A warning about some of the details in this next story. Police now elaborating on what you heard first here last night. The man accused of selling lethal substances to vulnerable people now facing 14 murder charges.
The case of Kenneth Law growing more and more disturbing, spanning continents. CTV's John Woodward joins us live tonight. John, you've been talking to family members of people who died after ordering Law's products.
Michelle, many of them say that the news of their loved one's death was bad enough. The news it could be murder even more overwhelming, but they believe the murder charges here could be a step towards justice.
Stephen Mitchell was a 21-year-old with a tender and sensitive heart, his father said in a eulogy this year. But he had a tortured mind and battled depression until he died in March, his father said. Stephen suffered in silence and finally lost all hope in what I believe was a torturous moment of complete and total despair and hopelessness. Police say it was in that moment of hopelessness that Ken Law allegedly struck. Mitchell's death included among the 14 new murder charges laid this week against the former engineer and Royal York Hotel chef.
They're all people, and they were loved by their family and friends who continue, in many cases, to live without them.
At a news conference, the inspector heading the multi-jurisdictional task force investigating Law confirmed the charges and said Law sent 160 packages containing suicide materials in Canada and 1,200 packages to 40 countries around the world. The earliest death in Ontario, September 2021 in Toronto, most in the GTA, involving people as old as 36 and as young as 16. In Thunder Bay, 19-year-old Ashton Prosser died. His mom said he felt depressed and isolated in COVID-19 and was on wait lists for mental health care when he died in March.
Family members say many of the dead found their way to Law's websites through an online forum that CTV News is not naming, but it has caught the attention of the police.
Across the world, a count by CTV News indicates the total number of deaths that may be connected to Law's products has climbed to 122. In the UK, Gary Cooper's brother Lee hopes the Canadian charges will lead to justice at home.
We just got to hope that our authorities see what Canada are doing and realise they've got to step the game up.
Law himself remains in custody, and his lawyer has said he will plead not guilty.
To put this in perspective, Law now faces more murder charges than disgraced nurse Elizabeth Wetlaufer, more than serial killer Bruce MacArthur. And police say they are not finished. They say they are still interested in anyone who may have had contact with Law or with his websites and are hoping that they can reach out. Reporting live from Mississauga, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, John. It's a blow to the mayor's plan to limit the number of ride-sharing licenses in Toronto.
The city's top lawyer says the court battle against Uber won't be easy. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the exclusive details tonight on the behind-the-scenes effort to prevent the city from losing the lawsuit. Natalie.
Well, Michelle, I'm told that the mayor was meeting with the city solicitor just a short time ago, going over this court case ahead of the council meeting tomorrow. Councillors were warned today that that sudden move to freeze the number of Uber licenses in the city will be tough to defend in court. The city's top lawyer even saying that there is an option of backing down. In the face of a lawsuit by ride-sharing giant Uber, the city's top lawyer is warning council that unless it reverses or pauses its plan to cap licenses, the city could very well lose in court. Will you consider backing down in the face of this lawsuit?
No. I am, well, I can't comment on the court case because it's going to be in front of the court.
In a confidential report to council obtained by CTV News, the city solicitor writes, without action by council, Uber is likely to succeed in establishing that council's decision does not satisfy the legal test that has been applied by the courts in prior cases. If so, the court will quash the bylaw. It was back in October that council, led by the mayor, voted suddenly to freeze the number of ride-sharing licenses until at least the end of next year, arguing that it would decrease emissions and congestion in the core. Uber fired back with a lawsuit last week, arguing that the city failed to provide notice of the cap contrary to its own bylaws and acted in bad faith. In the confidential report, the city solicitor gives council three options: rescind the cap, freeze the cap, or do nothing and instruct the legal team to defend council in court, pointing out that removing the cap would render the lawsuit moot, pausing it would potentially push back the court date and allow time for consultation with the industry. Writing, any cap implemented after receiving information from city staff and comments from stakeholders would be more defensible. The solicitor notes that council does have the authority to limit the number of licenses if there is public notice, but there are, quote, legal issues with the way the decision was raised at council without it.
Sort of a view that, the threat of a lawsuit on a political decision or any decision shouldn't be the consideration as to whether or not you back down or at all.
Meanwhile, the group Ride Fair Toronto, who is named in the application, is applying for intervener status in the lawsuit.
It's capped at 54,000 drivers, roughly. But if people leave, no new people can come in. So, it's a rolling pause. And we believe that Uber is fully capable of making a good business in the city of Toronto.
The city solicitor reports that the city would incur legal costs of up to $40,000 responding to the litigation. And if it loses, would likely have to pay Uber's court costs as well, which could top $150,000. Uber, meanwhile, is asking for an expedited court case. Its lawyers will have a hearing a week from today to argue the urgency of the case. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Natalie. And straight ahead, Canada joins international calls for a humanitarian ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. What's included in the resolution from the United Nations?
We have more news in just a moment, but first, here's a live look outside on this Tuesday evening. A chilly one out there, so dress warmly if you're going out for a skate. Lindsay Morrison's here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, definitely a wind chill factor tonight. Those winds have been quite strong all day long coming out of the west and the northwest. Let's get right to your weather forecast. We'll talk about what's happening right now, and temperature-wise, it is a little bit cool. We did make it to a high of 5 degrees this afternoon. It's now 2, but it feels like -4. And again, these winds are part of the reason why. They're coming directly out of the west, sustained close to 30 kilometers per hour, but we've been experiencing gusts upwards of 50 today. And as a result, we've got some lake effect snow, a couple of stray flurries in the GTA, but for the most part, the activity is well north of here to the east of Georgian Bay. Overnight tonight, we're forecasting a low of -2 degrees, but again, it's going to feel more like -8. So bundle up if you are heading outside. We are in North York tonight at the York Minster Citadel, and we are building a toy mountain. We've got some inspiring stories coming up here tonight. We hope you can join us. But for now, Nathan and Michelle, we'll send it back inside to you. Everyone wave bye.
Bye, everyone. Could Ontario residents soon be able to buy beer and wine in corner stores?
It's a debate that's been brewing for years, and tonight we've learned an announcement could be close. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with all the details. Siobhan.
Well, Nathan, it would likely be a couple years until we see real changes, but we do expect to hear from the government in a matter of days about how they're going to make good on a promise to put alcohol in closer reach.
Others, in Ontario at any rate, have something else to bite their nails about: booze now.
It wasn't that long ago critics believed selling alcohol on Sundays would mark the end of civilized society. Now Ontario is on the precipice of a new relationship with booze.
We're going to keep our promise to make sure that we have convenience and selection across the province.
The Premier has signaled for years an intent to put beer in corner stores. The government needs to lay out what's next for alcohol by the end of the year.
Time, has come to bring Ontario into the modern retailing age.
The current beer store contract limits how many grocery stores can sell beer, and it can't be more than a 6-pack. Convenience store owners are excited by the potential to give shoppers more options, throw a lifeline to craft brewers limited in where they can sell.
Over 400 of them, and they need a channel where they can sell their products in local communities. And of course, and as I've already said, small family-run stores. This would be a boon for them.
With future revenues from tobacco and gas in jeopardy. From the street, a cocktail of reaction.
Consumer decides, not the government. Free choice, fair competition, get the supermarkets to drive the price down.
I think we're adults and hopefully we should be treated like that.
That's just whack. I don't agree with that. It's just gonna open it more accessible to, the young generation.
The Ontario Safety League worries about more crashes, booze that looks like juice sharing shelf space.
There is always a place that has less regulation and the community is less safe than Ontario. And I don't think we should use other jurisdiction analysis as being relevant in our province.
Hoping the government will give a sober second thought to putting booze in closer reach. That beer store contract doesn't actually expire until the end of 2025, but Dave Bryans hopes the government is negotiating some sort of transition to give everybody a chance to set up. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Next to a story being met with horror, the circumstances surrounding the death of a Toronto toddler, a woman now charged with second-degree murder.
Tonight, we're learning about the investigation centered partially around this building in East York. CTV's Beth McDonnell reports.
It's a tragic case involving the alleged killing of a 3-year-old boy.
It's insane. I mean,
stuff should never happen to a kid, ever. Ever. I mean, it's unexplainable, it's despicable.
On Sunday, December 3rd, Toronto police say they received a medical call to this apartment building on Dawes Road near Chapman Avenue in East York, where the boy was pronounced dead.
On Sunday, and I seen cop cars everywhere. On Monday, I believe, I seen them load a carriage, baby buggy, wrapped in plastic in a forensic van.
Police allege the boy and a woman who is a family friend caring for the boy were in the Yonge and Bloor area on Saturday, the day before, and went inside a washroom at an organization. Police say inside the washroom the boy was assaulted. They say the two then left the organization and went back to the woman's residence on Dawes Road. Multiple people at the building tell CTV News the woman lives here, the same building where police responded.
Where did you see the police officers?
Here in front of the door, sit over there day and night. There's a lot to go through your mind, but for me, once a kid is involved, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. I have 3 kids.
This afternoon, the building run by social service agency Fred Victor held a grief counseling session for residents. In a statement, its CEO says supporting the mental health and well-being of its residents is its top priority. We were deeply saddened to hear of the death at our housing site in East York. Upon hearing of this tragedy, we immediately implemented our crisis response and are providing enhanced supports for all residents and staff and at this site to help them deal with this situation. So far, the name of the organization where the woman and the boy went to the washroom is not being released.
Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
And Toronto homicide detectives are investigating after a man died in a stabbing near Woodbine Park this morning. It happened shortly before 6 on Lockwood Road near Kingston Road in Dundas. Toronto paramedics say the man was pronounced dead at the scene. Police are asking anyone with information to reach out.
At the UN, Canada joined a number of countries voting overwhelmingly today in favor of a non-binding resolution. It calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
The vote was taken as the Israeli military pressed ahead with its offensive in the Gaza Strip. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
Mothers carrying their children run from a neighborhood in Rafah after an airstrike this morning, one of several in the area in the last 24 hours. 2 of Hani Abu Jami's children were killed in one of those attacks that hit his home. I want this situation to be better, he says. This is not fair. No one is looking out for us. Today, the UN General Assembly passed a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire. More than 3/4 of the members voted in favor, including Canada.
Hostages need to be released, humanitarian aid needs to be allowed in, and of course, what we want to do is that this humanitarian pause needs to lead to a sustainable ceasefire.
Prior to the meeting, Canada released a lengthy joint statement with Australia and New Zealand. In the statement, the 3 countries call for international efforts toward a sustainable ceasefire, but acknowledge it cannot be one-sided, calling on Hamas to release all hostages and lay down its arms. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this morning, reiterating the need for a 2-state solution.
Canada is committed to ensuring that Israelis and Palestinians get to live in peace and security within internationally recognized borders.
Along with calls for a ceasefire, there are also calls for more aid. Israel has opened a new inspection site at Kerem Shalom to help accelerate aid deliveries into Gaza. But officials say aid is only part of the need, with only 11 of Gaza's hospitals partially functioning. Today, Israel recovered the bodies of 2 hostages. They now believe 19 of the 135 people still in Gaza are now dead. This is renewing calls in Israel for the government to do more to bring the remaining hostages home. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
In Ottawa, relatives of some of the hostages being held by Hamas spoke today as the agonizing wait for news of their loved ones continues.
We found out about it by watching a video that was released by Hamas on YouTube, and the whole country watched it. And we found out that way. We saw him taken captive. And since that day, we have no detail, not a single information. We don't know anything about his condition, if he's injured, if he's even alive. We don't know anything.
There were calls for action from the families, advocacy groups, and politicians. They want the Canadian government to issue comprehensive sanctions on the perpetrators of the deadly October 7th attack, to hold the Iranian leadership accountable for its support of Hamas, and to prosecute those responsible for the deaths of Canadians. There was also a call for an international coalition that would make the hostages a priority. There were more protests in Israel today, demanding the release of the remaining hostages being held in Gaza.
Ukraine's president was at the White House today, part of an effort to shore up American support for his country.
And Ukraine will emerge from this war proud, free, and firmly rooted in the West unless we walk away.
In Ukraine, we are fighting for our country and freedom, and also in Europe, we say for our freedom and yours. And this motto resonates not only in our country, not only in our hearts, not only in Ukraine, but also in Poland and Baltic states, Moldova and others. When freedom is strong in one country, it is strong everywhere.
Joe Biden warned that failure by the U.S. to provide Ukraine further aid would embolden Russia and others. Volodymyr Zelensky has appealed to congressional leaders for more assistance.
Meanwhile, Canada has slapped new sanctions on Russia. 30 Russian nationals are being penalized in relation to illegal elections held in southern Ukraine. All of them ran as candidates in Kremlin-organized votes in temporarily occupied parts of the Kherson region. Ottawa says the so-called elections are a violation of Ukraine's independence, sovereignty, and territory.
In Spain, authorities have confiscated nearly 11 tons of cocaine, much of it hidden between pieces of frozen tuna. This is a look at the massive haul from above. 7,500 kilograms of the drug were discovered by agents in a northwestern city. The criminal gang was using a frozen seafood company as a front to bring the cocaine from South America. A separate police sting in another city netted 2,400 kilos in false bottoms of shipping containers. The drugs were due to be distributed across Europe. 20 people were arrested.
It worked well following the Second World War. The federal government is bringing back a decades-old housing program to try and speed up construction in Canada. It all centers around using pre-approved home designs.
We don't have a firm estimate because the consultation hasn't yet taken place. But once we roll that out in January, we expect to have a clearer idea of how many units we would expect as a result of pre-approved designs. I have seen estimates from experts in the field indicating this could cut up to 1 year off the time for construction on a project.
A consultation process begins next month on developing a catalog of home designs. It's intended to accelerate the building process for developers. The modern-day version of the catalog will focus on low-rise builds, such as small multiplexes, student housing, and seniors' residences. It may eventually include higher-density construction.
A longtime member of Parliament from the GTA is retiring. Liberal Carolyn Bennett delivered her final speech in the House of Commons today.
Don't give up. Stay strong against all odds. In these difficult times, I have every confidence that we will continue to fight together to make the best country in the world even better. Merci, miigwech, thank you, ajuinata.
Bennett has represented the riding of Toronto-St. Paul for 26 years. She served under 3 prime ministers and spent a little over 10 years in cabinet. The 72-year-old was shuffled out of cabinet in the summer after announcing she would not seek re-election. Tapping into artificial intelligence in healthcare, how students are being taught to use AI to more accurately diagnose and predict best treatment. That's coming up.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many Canadians hoping to make fast money investing online are losing millions of dollars. A Toronto woman who saw an investment opportunity on TikTok says she just lost more than $7,000. I'll have that story just ahead.
Citadel in North York. Corin is pastor here, and Liz, it's nice to see you again. Tell us a little bit about the community support this year.
Well, we're just so thankful for all the community support that we get from our neighbors and from CTV, Toy Mountain. We've been able to help over 300 children this year with toys, and we were really fortunate this year to have some companies that donated their time, bringing their employees over a 3-day period to help unload the toys, sort the toys, pack the toys, and then distribute the toys. So I'd like to thank ITI Canada and Wawaness Insurance and Definity Insurance for that support. It's just been wonderful.
That is wonderful. And you know what? We've had another big donation tonight. I want to introduce you to the kids from Walden International School in Oakville.
Hi, I'm Samira. I'm Angelina. And I'm Nathan.
And I'm Charlotte.
We are from Walden International School, a private IB school in Oakville. We hosted an event called Peaches and Popcorn and are happy to announce it was a huge success.
We've collected lots of toys for children and youth for Toy Mountain. These are only just a few bags we've raised. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to make a difference.
Happy holidays! Great job, students. Great job, everyone here tonight. Stay with us. Your weather forecast is coming up. Look at all these toys. That's amazing.
At a time when many Canadians are struggling financially, some are turning to investment schemes they find online.
Many involve cryptocurrency and promised fast, easy money. But if you're not careful, your investments can disappear. Pat Foran has this consumer alert. Pat.
They can. Michelle and Nathan, thank you. A Toronto woman was searching on social media when she saw a story that promised she could make huge returns investing online. She reached out to the company and they contacted her right away. She ended up losing more than $7,000. Siobhan Taylor of Toronto was scrolling through social media when she saw a news story on TikTok about an investment opportunity. It said starting with $250, she could make $28,000 a month.
She was just talking about a police officer making thousands of dollars online. So that just really made me get really interested and just signed up.
Taylor started with a small investment, but eventually was scammed out of more than $7,000. The news story she watched was manipulated using artificial intelligence.
My money is not in that platform anymore.
There have been similar investment scams using deepfake videos of Elon Musk.
Today, I want to introduce my new project.
I created the Toddler Trader project.
According to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, during the first half of this year, more than 1,700 victims lost more than $160 million to investment scams.
It's really important for investors to understand who it is that they're getting their advice from.
IROC, the body that oversees investment dealers and trading activity in Canada, says investors need to be careful where they put their money, especially if it's in cryptocurrencies, an area prone to scams.
If somebody could make those kind of returns on a no-risk basis, why are they coming to you and asking for your money? They'd be making it on their own. They would be generating their own profits.
Signs of an investment scam, promises of fast, easy returns with no risk, unsolicited investment offers, pressure to act fast, buzzwords like patented, tested, or proven strategies, and remember, celebrity testimonials may not be legitimate. Taylor says she invested the money to help her son.
That money was for my child. To take care of my child. My child has autism. That money was for backup money to support him.
And if you're online dating, you should know some romance scams are also linked to investment fraud. You may meet someone online who suggests they can help you make money investing. Be careful, chances are it's a scam. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, weather conditions aren't too bad on this Tuesday evening. I think more interesting is what's happening with our Toy Mountain.
Right, at the York Minster Citadel, building that Toy Mountain. It's always great to see, Lindsay.
It is. And Nathan and Michelle, tonight I want to introduce you to a couple of special families, beginning with Tamina, who came here from Afghanistan. Tell me a little bit about your experience with the Salvation Army.
Yes, when I came from Afghanistan, since 2 years, they helped me, and I'm very happy. And they also give some toys to my kids, and also they are happy and they are excited, and I appreciate this food banks and this foundation.
Well, it's great that campaigns like Toy Mountain have been helping families like yours and that you're benefiting from it so much. Thank you.
appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I also want to introduce you to Jumi over here. Jumi, you too have been benefiting from the kindness and the generosity of people who support Toy Mountain and the Salvation Army. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Thank you very much. So I'm very, very grateful. I'm kind of new in Canada. This is my second year in Canada. I came to Canada last year. And ever since I got to know about Salvation Army, it's been awesome. I received so many help. Like, I'm just thankful for Salvation Army. And even my kids, you know, like yesterday I got home, they saw a lot of toys and they were like, oh, Mommy, you bought us. I said, no, it's from Salvation Army. They were so happy about it. And then when we got here today and I told them, the toys you got, this is where I got them from. They were like, oh, I'm so happy to be here. I just want to say, if I'm going to talk about my success story in Canada, definitely Salvation Army will be there.
Well, thank you to both of you for sharing your experience and being so vulnerable. And it's wonderful to meet your beautiful children as well. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. And we're going to talk a little bit about the weather. We will begin by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. So we've had some active weather today. Yes, we've had snow squalls moving off of Lake Huron as well as Georgian Bay. There are snow squall watches, warnings, and weather advisories still in effect at this hour. So just be mindful if you're going to be traveling in these parts of the province. Part of the reason we've got some very gusty winds coming out of the west. Those winds are going to remain strong tomorrow, but they'll switch to more of a northwesterly flow. And as a result, we could get a few flurries here in the city of Toronto. So there's around midnight tonight. Around noon tomorrow, it's possible that we'll get a little burst of light snow. Shouldn't amount to a whole lot. Then we're going to clear out. In fact, heading into Thursday, the sun is going to be back out. It is chilly tonight. Overnight low -2 degrees. Factor in those winds, it's going to feel like -8. Chilly waking up tomorrow as well. Daytime highs right around freezing. So bundle up if you're going to be venturing outside tomorrow. Just a heads up on that. And then as we make our way into the day tomorrow and the next couple of days, we're going to experience a bit of a warm up. Let's get to that 7-day forecast and we can show you what I'm talking about. How does 10 degrees on Friday sound to you? Still above seasonal over the weekend as well, but a little more in the way of cloud cover. We are here at the Yorkminster Citadel here celebrating Toy Mountain, and I have a couple of special guests. We have Colin, our two gentlemen joining us from The Trews.
That's right. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you. So it's Colin and John?
John Angus, yeah. I'm Colin, yeah.
Thanks for being a part of this. Why did you want to participate in Toy Mountain?
We wanted to bring some musical toys to give away for the Christmas time, and yeah, we're happy that these kind of initiatives are going on and giving back at a time when a lot of people are in need, especially after the last couple of years everybody's been having. So it's always good to have these kind of causes going, and we're always happy to be a part of it.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. You guys are still very busy, and you're celebrating a special anniversary, The Trews.
Yeah, our first album came out 20 years ago in 2023. It came out in 2003, so we put out a big anniversary edition of that record, and we're going to go out on tour to support it early next year. So we're going to take the holidays to rest up and relax, and then hit the road hard again in 2024.
Well, this is music to our ears that you are supporting us here at the Salvation Army and Toy Mountain. Let's hear it for everyone that's here tonight celebrating, helping us build a Toy Mountain. Nathan and Michelle, I'm going to send it back inside to you.
Just great news. Thanks so much, Lindsay. Also tonight, harping on the housing problem. An outspoken mortgage broker's growing following on social media as he voices his perspective on the market and the unaffordability for so many.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is something many people are suspicious of.
But its use in many fields is growing, particularly in healthcare. As CTV's Pauline Chan tells us, it prompted the creation of a new curriculum at the University of Toronto.
There is a lot of work that's happening in AI in general in terms of developing the technical algorithms, but health data often come with very unique challenges. So this course was designed to address those specific challenges in the context of biomedical engineering.
Azadeh Kushki is a senior scientist at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehab. She's also the creator of a new course at U of T.
Often when we teach courses, we use these openly available data sets that are curated in very specific ways, and we remove many of those complexity layers. But I think with health data, those complexity layers are really critical to the learning experience.
The unique element to her course is something called the Health Data Nexus platform, in which thousands of real-life health files from public records are stripped of any identifying information.
I worked in a school for 4 years with neurodivergent children.
Graduate student Sarah Alatrash was in the very first class earlier this year.
Science is a way of giving us more understanding of connections that we might not otherwise be able to see.
And the use of real data gives their work immediacy as well as real-life applications, for example, in dealing with socioeconomic barriers in healthcare.
To help with more efficient and accurate diagnoses processes, and also to help us predict what treatments may be best for whom and when.
It's an ever developing field, so just being afraid and cautious and not diving into the future is not what we should do.
She says we should embrace AI, but also make sure we understand how to use it. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
One of Tennessee's most famous residents is lending a helping hand following devastating tornadoes. Taylor Swift donated $1 million to the Tennessee Emergency Response Fund. She owns a home in the Nashville suburb of Hendersonville. That area was impacted by a tornado that produced winds of 200 kilometers per hour. It was one of several twisters that killed 6 people and left thousands homeless in the state.
Sarah McLachlan is marking 30 years since her album Fumbling Towards Ecstasy with a tour. The Halifax-born singer-songwriter has announced a 30-date tour where she plans to play the 1993 record in its entirety, along with some of her other best-known songs. The tour includes 2 stops in Canada, one at Toronto's Budweiser stage on June 19th and the other at Montreal's Bell Place on June 20th.
The Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy, court-approved liquidation sale.
On the next CB24 Breakfast.
An important conversation with Kids Help Phone about supporting young people over the holidays.
That's on the next CB24 Breakfast, up first at 5:30.
What's important today is my brother can be at peace.
Updating our top stories, a jury has declared the death of a mentally ill man at a Lindsay jail homicide. A coroner's inquest heard Soleiman Faqiri appeared increasingly unwell during his time there, but did not see a psychiatrist or go to hospital. He died days later after a violent struggle with correctional officers.
Will you consider backing down in the face of this lawsuit?
No. I am, well, I can't comment on the court case because it's going to be in front of the court.
The City of Toronto's top lawyers warning council could lose a lawsuit filed by Uber. That's if a plan to cap licenses is not reversed or paused. The ride-sharing giant alleges the city failed to provide notice of the cap, contrary to its own bylaws.
Time, has come to bring Ontario into the modern retailing age.
Could beer and wine in corner stores become a reality? We may get an answer soon. The government has to lay out what's next for alcohol by the end of the year. The Premier has insisted it will happen.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is trading lower at roughly 73.5 cents U.S. American benchmark oil losing about $2.70, falling below $69 U.S. a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index dropped 84 points, ending the day at 20,233.
There's no denying real estate is a hot topic of conversation, guaranteed to generate strong opinions. And one place where you can definitely find some of those is social media.
And at least one local mortgage broker has noticed, and so he's bringing his advice online, reaching a whole new audience. Here's CTV's Sean Latham.
Right, so rates are down. We got mortgage rates coming down.
He talks about real estate and mortgages with a delivery that grabs attention.
What's going on in the GTA?
Ron Butler is an unlikely social media presence who is bringing levity to the cost of living crisis in Canada.
There's something basically crazy about a 66-year-old person starting in social media.
The hikes are over.
A mortgage broker by profession, Butler hosts the Angry Mortgage podcast out of his Etobicoke office. He has a solid following on X, and in just 6 months, he's added 30,000 followers on TikTok.
Here's a message for you.
He says TikTok has been the most fun.
Because I kept asking them, like, what can I say on TikTok? They said, you can say anything you want. I said, well, you can't swear. And they said, well, no, you can swear. So I thought, that's basically in sync with my personality, so I'm going to try TikTok.
Like, you sit around, talk, somebody else posts it for you. It's good, right? I mean, that's great.
His audience growth has coincided with the rise in interest rate, with banks expecting more loan defaults and the cost of living going up.
Someone else will give you the mortgage for less. Now you shove that down the bank's throat.
Butler's no-nonsense approach is aimed at providing honest advice, even if it runs contrary to what many in the industry are saying.
When I hear that phrase, the best time to buy real estate is right now, it just infuriates me. It just raises my blood pressure.
Saying there's a systemic cost of housing problem in Canada, with the animation in his voice echoing the frustration that some Canadians may be feeling.
How seemingly hopeless they feel their situation is, that they will never be able to afford a home. They will never have the opportunity their parents had.
And while Butler is enjoying the audience he's building, he doesn't expect the growth to last forever.
I'm never going to be Mr. Beast. I mean, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to have Kardashian-level followers.
Don't listen to liars.
But he'll continue to deliver his message while the audience is there. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
The Toronto Maple Leafs will hit the ice for a second straight night, taking on the Rangers in New York.
A tip by Matthews wide. Back to Nylander. Another shot incoming. The puck scores. Morgan Riley has tied it.
Toronto lost to the Islanders in overtime last night, despite captain John Tavares picking up his 1,000th career point. Tonight, the Buzz take on a team tied for second overall in the NHL. Martin Jones gets to start in net for the first time as a Maple Leaf.
Well, the teams have yet to be named, but the 6 clubs in the Professional Women's Hockey League have now declared their rosters. Toronto and each of the other teams will each carry 23 players plus 3 reserves. A total of 157 players from 12 different countries will dress for the inaugural season. That includes a league-leading 90 Canadians. The first game in PWHL history will be played New Year's Day at the Mattamy Athletic Center between Toronto and New York.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight, and a special What's Up to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010. It's the holiday season, and there are lots of options for your entertainment.
Yes, a new musical is available for your consideration. It's called Chris Misses. CTV's Andrea Case joins us now with the details. Andrea.
Michelle, Nathan, good delivery, Michelle. Yes, this is not only a new show, it's Canadian, and it stars a Canadian cast. The title is a cute play on words, Chris Misses. It's rare that a new Canadian musical comes along, but Christmases is just that. And with the holiday season in full swing, this show, now on stage at the Winter Garden Theatre, is hoping to become an annual tradition.
Oh, 10 out of 10. I mean, we're all having a great time out there, and you know, it's really a joy to tell the story and have it be well received by the audience.
Liam Tobin stars as Mr. Chris. He hails from St. John's, Newfoundland, but his career has taken him far and wide.
Yeah, so I play Ben Chris in the show. He's a widowed father of 3, and we get to see kind of Ben's journey through kind of a corporate guy, pseudo-absentee father since the death of his wife.
Both Tobin and London, Ontario's Olivia Sinclair Brisbane most recently appeared on the Stratford stage. This is her debut in a Toronto production. Her first role was in Annie at the age of 12. Now her roles have matured.
The funny thing is, when I think about it, I'm cast as the evil stepmom, but I hadn't even turned 30 yet before I was cast in that role.
You started early, that's
Yeah,
all.
we started early. You're never too young to be an evil stepmom, in my opinion.
The musical demands a lot of the cast, acting, singing, and dancing, but don't call Tobin a triple threat.
I would love to say that I could dance as well as the guys in this show or the ladies in this show. I mean, we all act, sing, and dance in the show, but we have some of the most amazing talent in the country. You know, they basically stole the whole company of one of the shows in Stratford this year for the ensemble. We have incredible dancers, incredible singers from like all over.
Christmas and just the holidays in general, they are quite a nostalgic time. And a lot of times big corporate companies can play on that, but they're not wrong in the fact that it does bring up some kind of emotion in all of us. I think being in a Christmas show at this time of year helps you just open and be more vulnerable and willing to see other people in the world and make actual connections.
Christmases is now on stage at the Winter Garden Theatre. It runs until December 31st. For CTV News, I'm Andrea Case. Nathan.
Thank you, Andrea.
Let's keep the holiday theme going with Lindsay.
And Nathan and Michelle, we have an exciting toy tally with Aaron.
We're approaching 15,000 toys. We are at Mayfield Ford Lincoln tomorrow in Brampton. Come on out with a new unwrapped toy. They have a great giveaway going on, so you'll want to be a part of that.
Yes, they're giving away a Bronco Sport, and you only have this week to donate your toys. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. One more look at what you can expect as we head into the weekend. Yeah, it's going to be nice and mild as we head into Thursday and especially Friday. A mostly cloudy weekend overall, not cooling down again until next week. It's been a wonderful hour here at the York-Minster Citadel in North York. We're going to listen in now, Nathan and Michelle, to the children singing us out for the holidays.
Very nice. Thank you, Lindsay. And be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Altman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Good night. Beautiful kids.